Welcome to the Cabral Concept, where board-certified naturopath and integrative health practitioner Dr. Stephen Cabral shares how he was diagnosed at the age of 17 with a life-altering illness and given no hope for recovery. It was only after studying and traveling all over the world did he discover how to combine ancient Ayurvedic healing practices with state-of-the-art naturopathic and functional medicine to fully rebalance the body and re-energize it with life. It's time to discover how to get well, lose weight, and finally feel alive again. And now, here's your host, Dr. Stephen Cabral.
Welcome back, everyone. We're here today with episode 2574 of the Cabral Concept. Thanks so much for joining me here. We're going to be going over the Biggest Loser style, weight loss, and the different competitions, or essentially what happens when you've been dieting, going low calorie for too long, plus exercise at the same time. Does that hurt your metabolism, and is it permanent? We're going to be going over the research here today, so I want to make sure that you know all about it. I will be linking up to the research at stephencabral.com/2574. Head on over there, as well as for the 3 big takeaways. Well, let me actually read you the research. It's called Persistent Metabolic Adaptation 6 years after the Biggest Loser competition. Now, if you're not familiar with the Biggest Loser, it was a reality TV show, may still be around, I have no idea. But what they did was they took people, they had 2 different teams compete, the red team versus the blue team. Again, I'm probably dating myself. I only remember like the original first couple seasons with Jillian Michaels and a few of the others on there. But what they did was the goal was to lose as much weight as possible. So the contestants, women ate about 1,100 calories a day or so, maybe 1,200. Men ate about 1,600 calories per day, sometimes less. And then they would work out and exercise for 6 hours, 8 hours or more a day. And then sometimes they would do a sauna and sweat the morning of the weigh-in. So what we have here is the extreme, right? So we're looking at low calorie plus far greater caloric expenditure. Now you might say to yourself, well, I'm not exercising for 6, 8 hours a day. Understood, but there are a lot of people exercising and they are on low calorie diets and or low carb, and they're not losing weight anymore. So I want you to think about that and what's going on with the metabolism, because even though this is the extreme, and I hope that you're not here, we show what happens when the body is under too much stress and too few nutrients and calories coming in. Puts itself in a survival-based state. Here's the science behind it. Of course, I will link it up for you. The objective was to measure long-term changes in resting metabolic rate and body composition in participants of the Biggest Loser competition. What is resting metabolic rate? Well, let's explain that. So resting metabolic rate is essentially taking your basal metabolic rate. It's like the amount of calories you need per day just to stay alive. And then resting metabolic rate is that, so we're looking at basal metabolic rate, but we're looking at that with normal energy expenditure. We're not looking at over exercise or athletics or anything like that taken in, activity level, all right? So just resting metabolic rate, normal living, what does that take on a daily basis? All right, so this study's measuring resting metabolic rate. If I say RMR, that's what I'm talking about. All right, here's how the method was done. Body composition was measured by dual energy X-ray absorptiometry, and RMR was determined by indirect calorimetry at baseline. All they're saying is this. They are looking specifically at tissue samples and the amount of calories that they're able to eat without gaining weight. That's all. At the end of the 30-week competition and 6 years later. All right, how many calories, how much food could they eat before the competition? And then, or I should say at the end of the competition, right? And then 6 years later, all right? So metabolic adaptation was defined as the residual resting metabolic rate after adjusting for changes in body composition and age, okay? And the reason why they state that is that as you get older, the multiplier for how many calories you can eat is smaller because your metabolism naturally slows a little bit, so they were taking that into consideration, okay? So here are the results of the 16 Biggest Loser competitors originally investigated, 14 participants in this follow-up study. So what do we have? 2 people dropped out, 14 out of the 16 were studied. The weight loss at the end of the competition was about 58.3 kilograms lost, and resting metabolic rate decreased by about 610 calories. All right, so the end of the competition, now there's a plus minus of around 50% for a lot of these, but I'm just giving you the statistic, and I'm gonna try to make sense out of the science. If you're not used to reading these papers, it may not make sense. So what are they saying? Well, it says, again, I can do the exact math for you. I'm just gonna multiply by 2 for kilograms. I know it's 2.2, but it's about 120 pounds lost. That's a lot of weight, right? A lot of people came in at 250, 300, 400 pounds. And so, well, they lost about 120 pounds. And they decreased their resting metabolic rate by 610 calories. What does that mean? Well, it means based on the weight loss, based on all the competition, all of that, they're now able to eat 610 calories less per day. Okay, very interesting. Now, it would have been great to see what was their RMR before the Biggest Loser competition, right? Before the 30-week competition, but I digress. All right, so 6 years later, they weighed them in again, and they did these RMR studies. So they, 41 kilograms of the lost weight was regained, so all but 17 kilos. So basically what? They kept 36 pounds off out of the 120 pounds or so lost, right? Yeah, because, well, just do 17, yeah, about 34 or so, because I'm just using 2 pounds. So the majority of the weight was regained, while the resting metabolic rate was 704 calories below baseline, and metabolic adaptation was about 500 calories less. So they could eat 500 calories less. Weight gain was not significantly correlated with metabolic adaptation at the competition's end, but those subjects maintaining greater weight loss at 6 years also experienced greater concurrent metabolic slowing. So let me repeat the last line. Those subjects maintaining greater weight loss at 6 years also experienced greater metabolic slowing. I'll explain that right now, and then I'll give you the conclusion. So here's what happened. The average weight loss was 120 pounds at the end of the competition. About 6 years later, they gained back about 100 of that. We'll just say 90 to 100 pounds of that. And the issue was that their resting metabolic rate was even lower, even though they gained the weight back. Now, you might be saying to yourself, that doesn't seem possible, right? If you weigh more, you should have a higher resting metabolic rate. That's what this study shows, and that's why this is so important. The Biggest Loser competitors destroyed their metabolism to the tune of about 700 calories less, and then an adaptation of about 500 calories per day. Technically, it was 499. So that means that even though they gained the weight back, they still could not eat more calories. That's the worst of all worlds. That is what essentially we call yo-yo dieting, and it's why people get so frustrated, because now they need to eat fewer and fewer calories just to maintain the results or make new results. So these Biggest Loser competitors, they can't even go back to what worked for them in the past, because they're already about 100 calories even slower with the weight gain back, right? So like that shouldn't happen. Their metabolism actually got slower with more weight gain. And the reason is that it was a permanent disruption of the metabolism by losing the weight that quickly. I mean, if you think about it, they lost 10 pounds a week, every week. The first week on the show, many of the contestants lost 30 pounds. Some lost more in a week. Now, again, I have no problem. People know this. I have no problem with people losing 5 or 10 pounds the first week, 5 pounds or so the second week, 3 to 5 the third week, and then it slows down to about 1% of your body weight after 3 weeks. That's normal weight loss. And that is because in the beginning, a lot of it is inflammatory. So if you're eating healthier and doing healthy, this Biggest Loser is not healthy, all right? So I'm not saying that. But if you're doing healthy things, functional medicine detox, CBO protocol, fat velocity, like you're not even really exercising, you're just getting your body healthier. Well, if you have less inflammation in your body, you're not gonna hold as much toxic water weight. Like that's a given. So yes, a lot of it's body fat, but yes, a lot of it's toxic water weight. What we're talking about here in the Biggest Loser is a massive loss of muscle as well. That is what this study did not give you all the in-depth basis on, and that's why I wanted to share this with you, because I want to go deeper with you. Here's the conclusion of the study, and then I'm going to share with you how these contestants would actually be able to boost their metabolism again, because we work with a lot of people in our practice that are frustrated with not being able to lose the weight. They're frustrated with gaining the weight easier now more than ever. So here's the conclusion. Metabolic adaptation persists over time and is likely a proportional but incomplete response to contemporaneous efforts to reduce body weight. Okay. Again, these studies love to talk in, grammar and English that most people do not use, right? But what does it mean? It means this. When you are severely restricting calories and you're expending way more energy. So remember, if you exercise for 6 to 8 hours a day, let's say, especially at this weight, people are burning 800 to 1,000 calories an hour. That's legitimate, right? When you're weighed 200 plus pounds, you can easily burn 800 calories an hour. Now, if you're adapted fitness-wise, it might only be 500-600. But let's just say it's 800. Let's do some hard math. Times 6 hours is 4,800 calories. Times 8 hours is 6,400 calories, right? So let's just say they're burning on an average day of 5,000 to 6,000 calories, these contestants. Okay. So 5,000 to 6,000 minimum, and they're taking in maybe 1,600. 1,200 maximum for a lot of the female competitors. Think about this. Think about the damage that is doing to your stress hormones and your sex hormones. You are completely putting your body into a state of survival mode. You're starving your body. You're taking in 4 to 5x less calories than you're putting out. You're telling your body, we need to dramatically slow hormones, probably thyroid to the greatest degree possible, and we need to slow metabolic burn. We need to reduce our body's ability to use the same level of calories. Another way of saying that is if we're used to burning 1,800 calories a day, we need to slow metabolism down to 1,000 calories a day because we're not getting enough fuel. And so that's what the body does. It literally slows its metabolism. Hair starts to fall out, skin starts to get thinner, more lines and wrinkles. You start to get more brain fog, poor circulation, cold hands and feet. Sounds like all the symptoms of low thyroid, right? And that's exactly what it is. So the issue is, and the thing is, I never like to leave you with something that you can't do anything about. So for me, let's say you did one of these competitions, or let's say you did something where you now have really harmed your metabolism. The very best thing that you can do is do not go low calorie and low carb again. I know a lot of gurus out there, and I've talked about this. I did a show called Beware of Guru Diets, because again, if all you have is a hammer, every problem looks like a nail, right? And so if you need to lose weight, they just say, keep eating fewer calories, you'll eventually lose weight. Well, that's very true, but not very kind and not realistic. Here's why. These biggest loser competitors probably can't eat probably not more than 1,000 calories a day, maybe 1,200, maybe, right? Okay, if they ever eat more than that, they're gaining even more weight back. Okay, so if I want them to lose weight, I would just say, well, eat 500 calories less per day. All right, so let's say the person's eating 1,000 calories. They're eating 500 calories a day. You know how little food 500 calories is a day? It's such a tiny amount of food. It would be one just normal healthy meal. That's it. That's all you would get to eat per day. And a lot of people would say, well, that's all that a person needs to eat per day. I would completely disagree. From a caloric demand, maybe this type of individual, but is that really getting all of your needs met? No, certainly not from a micronutrient standpoint. So you can make arguments back and forth all day. What I can tell you is this is an absolute travesty that happens to the hormones, which nobody's talking about, right? And so this can lead to infertility. It can lead to cardiovascular issues, you name it. You might say, well, how does it lead to cardiovascular issues? If you have low thyroid, a lot of people end up with inflammatory arteries and higher levels of oxidized cholesterol. So, I mean, that's how. Again, we want to go deeper than just keep saying calories in, calories out, and don't worry about anything. Just keep dropping your calories until you lose the weight. Very, very dangerous way of looking at this. So I always say, I will give you a way to be able to get out of this mess, right? So here's the thing. It's not going to happen overnight. Over a period of probably a year to maybe a year and a half to 2 years, you are going to do this. Massively increase your micronutrients. Lots of vegetables, low glycemic berries, high quality protein, good quality fats, not going too high calorie, but very high micronutrient. So very high, all the foods that you're eating are very low caloric, but high nutrient dense. Produce is a great way of getting those. Good quality proteins and nutritional supplements. That is one big way. You're going to support your thyroid. You might do something like a Fatlocity. You probably do something like the daily foundational protocol, plus a Fatlocity. So it's going to support the thyroid as well. And then you're going to do strength training 3 to 4 times a week. Not a lot of cardio, if any, but you're going to walk. So you'll walk 10,000 steps a day, but then you're going to do strength training. So you need enough protein. You need enough total calories because we need to put more muscle, believe it or not, back in the body. Even if you've gained weight, we have to find a way to boost your metabolism. So we're going to boost it through good quality sleep. We're going to boost it through calming stress hormones, like with the magnesium or adrenal soothe. We're going to boost thyroid through either daily thyroid support or the Fatlocity system. Then we're going to use the daily foundational protocol, which is going to be all your B vitamins, all your nutrients, your omegas, your daily fruit and vegetable blend to get lots of nutrients in the body. So you're telling the body it's not starving anymore. Then we're not going to over-exercise. It's probably going to be Monday, Wednesday, Friday of exercise, maybe a weekend day, get enough sleep, always get enough sleep. And then we are going to do the 10,000 steps a day walking. You can work up to that because, again, we have time. And we're also going to make sure that we're doing intermittent fasting as well. So the intermittent fasting is going to help with the hormones, but we're not going to overfast. So we're not going to do fasted cardio in the morning. We're not going to do fasted HIIT workouts in the morning. We're going to tell the body it's in a safe space. We're going to build back up some muscle, build back up that metabolism, and people will get there. The problem is that this is not an overnight fix. It might have been close to an overnight destruction of the metabolism. I mean, 30 weeks is only... what is 30 weeks? It's just a little over 6 months of the year, right? 26 weeks or so. Yeah, so in 6 months, it's going to set you back 3 to 4 times that amount, especially if it's been years and you're a little older. So we need to make sure that we're able to get that muscle back, which I know that you can do, improve the hormone profile, and you can overcome this. But I just want people to know, don't give up. It's going to be a slower road, but that's okay. You know your mission, you know what you're looking to achieve, and it's worth it. It really is. Because not only are you going to improve your overall weight, which is going to lead to lower incidence of all cause mortality, less chance for cancer that we've been talking about this week. But also, keep in mind, you're going to improve every area of your life. You're going to improve your energy, your mitochondria, your brain function, your overall just vitality with life. So it's worth it. It is absolutely worth it. Beyond the weight, it's absolutely worth it. So hopefully this was helpful. Again, if I can help in any way, just let me know. Feel free to ask questions in the comments. Happy to do a follow-up to this as well. And I will link up the study at stephencabral.com/2574. Take care, everybody. Did you know that the body really only becomes sick or imbalanced in only 2 ways? Over time, you become deficient in vital nutrients, and you also accumulate toxins internally and from the environment. As those nutrients diminish and you increase your total toxic load, your body then begins to show the first signs of dis-ease. It's actually quite predictable, and the good news is that if we know how you began to fill up that proverbial rain barrel, we also know how to empty it to begin the healing process. I was fortunate enough to learn this ancient healing process from my mentor after suffering from debilitating diseases for close to a decade. It was only when I began to implement these techniques did I finally overcome my illnesses and go on to live a life of energy and vitality that I now enjoy. I'd like to share with you now what I discovered after traveling all over the world and how to combine the best of ancient healing wisdom with state-of-the-art science. Allow me to teach you exactly how I've been able to help over 250,000 people to empty their rain barrel and begin to transform their body and lives into what they've always hoped they could be. To get your copy of the international bestseller, The Rain Barrel Effect, simply go to stephencabral.com/rainbarrel.